Welcome to a TLDR boss preview for Vault of the Incarnates, because if you're not replaying Castle Nathria, you might as well get a start on those Dragonflight raid sheets. First is Sennarth the Cold Breath, an ice spider with 2 phases and an intermission, and you can fall off the platform, so bad news for anyone with the coordination of an American president. Phase 1 is the boss and a stream of spiderling ads. Breath of Ice creates patches of expanding ice on the floor that are, quote, very slippery, which I'm taking to mean it's hard to stop yourself moving. To stop sliding, enveloping webs targets players, dealing ticking damage, then dropping sticky webbing. The web slows movement by 25%, but does give you stacks while you're inside it. At 10 stacks, you'll be stunned with movement speed reduced by 75% for 30 seconds until freed. To free the webbed individuals, you'll need to kill a spider ad on top of them, as they explode when killed, removing the webs from both players and the ground. Chilling Blast targets a couple of players and deals splash damage to anyone near, so just move away. Gossamer Burst chains everyone to the boss, dealing raid-wide damage and pulling you all in. And Web Blast is the tank hit, which is actually super interesting because it gives you a damage taken debuff. Now the intermission, and it's unclear whether this is time-based or health-based. The boss runs away, repelling up her web as we all climb platforms to catch her. Each platform has a big ad with a tank frontal and ticking damage while they're alive. Nothing else, so just kill it and move on. When you reach the top, you start phase 2, and the entire platform starts icy. Chilling Blast still happens, but this time you leave behind a glacial plume, which deals damage and knocks you back if you touch it. Webs are now suffocating webs, basically the same thing, but also knocks you back and instantly stuns you with the webbing. Repelling Burst is raid-wide with the knockback, and Pervasive Cold is a stacking frost damage debuff as a soft enrage. And last, if you aren't on the upper platform, you take lethal stacking damage. So basically, if you get knocked off, you're gonna fucking die. Next is Kurog Grimtotem, a boss described by Max as one of the best designed fights in years. The fight has 3 phases with health-based intermissions which empower the boss. While Kurog is active, you need to drag him to the elemental altars around the room, and each one gives him a different mechanic as well as the abilities he has himself. Kurog's abilities first. Sunder Earth is a tank frontal that knocks you back and gives you a damage taken debuff. Lightning Crash puts an aura on a few players, making them take 70% more nature damage, then deal damage to the closest player when it expires. Make sure the person you hit doesn't also have the aura, or you'll blame each other for being shit. Molten Burst is a blast pattern on a random player that should be dodged, and Biting Chill is a raid-wide dot. Now for the altars. First, if he's not near an altar, I'm assuming he'll kill everyone very quickly, but the numbers look a little off here. When he bonds with an altar, the whole raid will take heavy damage, so a good time for a healer cooldown, and you can't swap altars for 40 seconds afterwards, or Angry Cow kill you now. The altars will empower the boss after each cast of their main ability, increasing elemental damage done by 3% per stack, so you can't stay on one forever. The Frost altar gives below 0, which throws ice at random players, dealing split damage, a dot, and a slow to anyone hit. If you get hit twice, you'll be frozen solid, which can't be immuned. The Fire altar gives him 2 abilities. Molten Rupture just makes Molten Burst affect multiple players instead of one, and Searing Carnage targets players with exploding patches at their feet for 5 seconds and gives them a dot. Try to keep this out of the group or run it across your casters to make them break their social contract. The Storm altar gives Thunder Strike, throwing out soaks that deal split damage, and if any of them hit the ground, the whole raid takes the hit. And last, the Earth altar, which sounds like Healer Hell. Seismic Rupture summons a pillar, which will basically kill anyone who stands where they spawn, with each pillar radiating raid-wide damage while they're up. They also give the raid a physical damage taken debuff, so all damage will ramp up the longer this altar is active, and the tanks will feel like they're tanking Mike Tyson. At 66 and 33%, Kurog leaves and 2 of the primals emerge. It sounds like they might also get the elemental damage stacks from the boss, but it's unclear. Each primal will have their own abilities, and they need to be tanked apart or they'll take no damage. The Earth primal casts Ground Shatter, which gives an aura to a couple players, dropping a patch and dealing splash damage when they expire. It also casts Violent Upheaval, making rocks erupt from the patches, which deal damage to anyone and knocking them back. The Frost primal casts Frostbinds, which needs to be interrupted. If you don't, it deals big damage to someone and a nasty dot. Raid leaders make sure to check those talent trees. And Freezing Tempest, which deals damage based on how far away you are. Further than 10 yards and you'll take a heavy hit. Closer than 10 and you'll get a very heavy dot for over double the damage, so melee get to do what they always do and run away. No caster bias here. The Storm Primal teleports behind random players and deals Lightning Strike. Big damage and a stacking dot to anyone within 10 yards. Not sure if you can dodge this, but they're both instant casts, so spread out to be safe. And the Fire Primal sounds like it has an energy bar that depletes when you damage it. Damaging it creates lava pools that spawn ads which cast on random players. Stun them and nuke them down to stop them playing Among Us and sniping the raid. And that's about it for the fight description. It's a lot of stuff, but sounds like a good fight with a choice of which altars you want to deal with and some confusion of how the buff stacks work. I guess we'll see when the raid testing starts. Next up will be Daith Ascended, Broodkeeper Diurna, and the final boss Razagath, but her description is very limited, so there won't be much on that one. Let me know what you think of the fights in the comments. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one.